You've probably heard it before, but swimming is incredibly technical. In fact, you might well have experienced it or even been pulling your hair out over this. But what is the best way to improve your swimming technique, and how often should you focus on this aspect in your swim training? Yeah, in swimming, unlike some sports where the harder you work, the greater the return, it can actually be the opposite, or sometimes even detrimental. You might find yourself fighting the water or even fighting yourself, and weeks, even months can go by and you don't see any improvement. Now, is something wrong? Well, yes, obviously, but it might be the way you're incorporating your technique work or when you're doing it. But if this sounds familiar, we'd love to hear from you. What is it you're struggling with? Or if you're someone who's currently working on an aspect or has got through it, you know what to do. Let us know in the comment section below. We'd love to hear that conversation. And before we crack on with the rest of the video, if you are enjoying this, we'd love it if you gave us a like. And if you're not yet following the channel, you can click on the globe and subscribe. First things first, to improve technique in anything, you must break it down. And you might have heard of swimming drills. Well, that's exactly what they do. They take an aspect of the stroke and bring the focus into that, or otherwise overemphasize a particular movement. And you've probably heard us chatting about the skull drill, for example, on this channel. Well, that is doing just that. It's looking at that really finite movement of the swim stroke where your hand enters the water. And it doesn't look anything like the front crawl stroke, because it's a very finite part of the stroke that helps you to gain confidence and strength and just get that feel of that really important aspect. And if you've practiced it, you'll know it works. Doing these drills over and over again and combining them with other drills, bringing your stroke back together, will ingrain perfect technique, and voila. Or maybe not. You might be watching this going, I do that and it's still not working. Well, if that's the case, it could be how you're incorporating it into your training, and that's why we're here. Technique work is tiring, but we still often see people going to the pool and opting to do technique work because they're maybe a little bit too tired to be able to do that really hard session. But that could be a downfall because it requires quite a lot of thought process, but also a certain amount of effort to do swimming well, but also to do those drills. And if you're doing a lot of drills or a lot of stroke breakdown, if you do it for too long, you'll find that your form starts to drop on that and you get fatigued as well. So it's a good idea to try and do this technique work when you're feeling fresh, or at least the majority of the time when you're feeling like that, and keep it broken down into small chunks so that you can really focus on the form and have a rest. It's all about quality over quantity. So with that in mind, rarely do a drill for more than 25 meters at a time. So do your length of focusing on that drill, stop, have a rest, think about how it went, what you did well, what you need to still improve, and then go again. And a nice way of actually breaking it up is to mix in drills with your full stroke swimming. So you could do one length of drill, one length of full stroke swimming, but rather than thinking of that full stroke as just a time to switch off and recover, use it to implement that drill you've just been doing. So really focusing on that aspect of the stroke. Another way you could incorporate it would be, say, to do 4 lots of 25 meters of a specific drill, follow that with 100 meters of full stroke swimming, focusing on that element. Now, I've been talking a lot about drills that you need to do, but this could be the issue. Do you know exactly what drills your stroke requires? Well, everyone's going to be a little bit different. For example, the drills that I need to do compared to the drills Mark needs to do will have some variation. There'll be a few that we have in common, but others that will be specific to our areas of weakness within our stroke. And we've actually, on GTN, covered pretty much every aspect of issues with the freestyle stroke. So take a look back through our videos and hopefully you can find the area that maybe you're struggling with, whether that's sinking legs or lack of rotation or poor pull. We'll have a video on that topic, and within that it'll recommend which drills will help you with that. And if you're still struggling to identify what's going wrong with your stroke or what areas you need to work on, it might be a good idea to get someone to look at your stroke, whether a coach or maybe even investing in a video analysis, so then you know that that technique work is going to be specific to improving your issues. So the big question, how often and when should you be focusing on technique work? Well, it does depend to a certain extent on the amount of time you've got available. And say you're only managing to do 1 or 2 swim sessions a week, then dedicating a whole session to technique work might well feel like overkill. But if you've not been improving for a long time and you've been trying all this, maybe it's time to do something quite drastic. And honestly, I'd advocate that for a lot of people. Sure, you can get in and thrash up and down the pool and get some hard work in instead, but ultimately you're still going to be fighting that water. Maybe it's time to just completely dial it back and see if you can become a more efficient swimmer. Failing that, the alternative is to include some drills and technique work within your normal session. And it's quite common to put this either at the start or at the end. Obviously at the start, you've got the benefit of being fresh, and hopefully then that technique will carry through to the main set and it'll really reiterate good, efficient form. Alternatively, at the end of the session, yes, you're going to be a little bit tired, so you're going to have to concentrate harder on getting good form, but this could be more realistic to a race setting when your form could start to slip when you're more fatigued. And also, if you finish a session swimming really well, hopefully that will carry over through to the next session. We're not pretending that swimming's easy. It's not. It's really difficult. There's a lot to think about. But sometimes, if you want to get out of that plateau, you do need to take some drastic measures, like we mentioned today. And don't be afraid if you feel your technique's starting to go in the middle of a session, to stop, reset, and really focus on that, because practicing good habits will reward you in the long run. Well, good luck with your swimming journey, and hopefully you've enjoyed it. You know what to do. Give us some support with a big thumbs up.